Hey, this is Andrew Brown. In this video, I want to take a look at AppStream 2.0, and we're going to set up the sample applications um, and stream them. So just to make this clear, Workspaces is for persistent virtual desktops, whereas Apps is really more for apps. You can do desktops as well, but mostly apps here. So we'll go ahead and get started here. And I'm noticing that I'm getting maybe the old UI. It's interesting when I'm on my other computer, it shows it in a different experience, but that looks totally fine. So I guess this must be the new UI. So there's a couple things we're going to need. The first thing is we need a fleet. So these take like 20 minutes to create. So we'll get this going right away. And we have three options: always on demand, or elastic. It's up to you what you want to utilize. I want to use always on just because I find that the easiest to use. It is the most expensive solution because it's running compute consistently. So if you are uncomfortable with any spend, you can just watch me here, but I'm going to go ahead and choose that here today. We could have done Elastic, but my concern is that we'll also be waiting around for that. I just want things to work here. So I'm going to just call this My Fleet. And then down below, we're going to choose a type of instance type. I'm going to use a standard large here today because I just want this to run exceptionally well. Going down below, you can see whether we will allow multiple sessions and the capacity of the sessions. What are we streaming here? Today it's apps, and that seems fine. So I'm just going to type in samples because they have a sample one here, and that will launch it with some of these applications. So make sure you checkbox that there. And I'm going to enable default internet access because I'm not doing this in the most secure way today. We have to choose at least 2 subnets, and then we need a security group. I've created a new security group, so it is here. And all I did was give it inbound from the internet. So I'll just show you what that looks like. You can obviously create your own security group. At this point, you probably know how. But we'll go here, and basically all I did was say all TCP, and I just said from anywhere for IPv4 and IPv6. I think we only need IPv4, but just in case, I added that IPv6. We could add a directory. We're not using a directory here today, so I'm just going to say none. And we'll go ahead and hit next, and then we will go and create this fleet. And I'll acknowledge that there is a cost associated, which again is just whatever the compute is. So I'm not really worried about that. The next thing I'll do is I'll go over to our user pool. And so in here, what you'll need to do is create a user. Now, I can't directly delete a user here. I can, but I'd have to use the AWS CLI. I just didn't feel like doing that. But you know, when we create a user, we can enable it or disable it. Of course, you can use a directory service to configure Active Directory. I just want to use the user pool. So you'll go here, you'll put your email, first name, last name in here. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get an email. So I'll show you what that email looks like. So just give me a moment to find it. All right, and so I have the email. And the email is just going to look like this. It's going to say log in this page with this email and temporary password. And you're going to log in right away. I've already done this, but you will log in and then it's going to ask you to reset your password. So I'm not going to do that twice here because I simply can't. And so you'll have that created and make sure you reset your password. I made my password testing 123 exclamation mark capital and a T as per usual, like in all my videos. And so our fleet is starting. That's going to take a considerable amount of time. We're going to go ahead and create our stack. So I'm going to call this my stack. And then you can see we can set a redirect URL or feedback URL. We'll have to choose a fleet. This one's still starting, but I'm going to select it anyway. Notice we can set our VPC endpoints. Notice that we can set these other things here. So I'm going to leave these alone to whatever their default is. And it says internet, so I'm going to assume that it's not using a VPC endpoint. It's just going out to the internet. And then we can choose either TCP or UDP. I'll just stick with TCP here. We'll hit next. Notice that we have an S3 folder it's creating. So that's where it's going to play stuff. If we are working in our AppStream 2.0 and there's any files, it's going to go there. We could send them to Google Drive. We could send them to OneDrive if we want to. We have some options. Do we want to disable clipboard? Do we want to limit characters? Do we want to disable uploads and downloads? Whatever you want to set here. Then down below, we have application setting persistence. So we'll have that checkboxed on. We'll hit next. We'll go ahead and create our stack. All right. And we're really just waiting for this fleet to spin up. And it really does take like 20 to 30 minutes. So it's going to take a considerable amount of time. But as long as it is associated with our fleet, or our stack is associated with our fleet, then this will work fine. And it is here. That's good. there are these things called application entitlements, which looks like to be some level of permissions. So you say, okay, this person can only select these apps and stuff like that. I guess it's granular permissions. But if we don't have any, then they'll just have access to all the apps. I'm going to wait for this to complete, and I will see you back here in a bit. All right, let's take a look here and see if our fleet is ready. It says that it is running, so that is a good indicator that we are in good shape. I'm going to go over our stack, just double check everything here. So yeah, this should, in theory, work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that email I had because I remember clicking through to it to find the path that I needed to go to. So just give me a moment. Right, so that's this email here, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and, would that be the exact same thing? Because it's referencing a very specific user pool. So no, it would be the same user pool. That makes sense. So I can go ahead and click on this. Okay. And obviously you could change this to be your own custom domain, which would be nicer. I'm going to go andrew@exampro.co. And I believe my password is capital T testing 123 exclamation mark. Log in. And it says nothing's been assigned to me yet, which might be true. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So we have a fleet. It is active. Okay. It's possible that I haven't assigned a stack. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and assign a stack like that. And then I'm going to go back here, give this a refresh. There we go. And so now we can see some applications. Let's try SD Draw. I didn't try that before, so that might be fun. Apparently I have a new portal experience. Let's go ahead and click on that since that will probably be the future. And we'll just give this a moment to spin up. Shouldn't take too long. Here it goes. And I'll just hit next, finish, say allow. And here we go. So we are in the application, and you can see I can draw some stuff. So it is all good. There we go. So that's all I really wanted to show you. We'll go over here and tear things down. So the first thing we'll have to do is go over to our fleet, and we will stop our fleet. We'll go over to our user, and I'm going to go ahead and unassign. Okay, I'm going to also disable them. If you want to delete them, you can use the API using the AWS CLI to do that. I don't care about doing that today, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can delete my stack. This has a associated fleet, so I'll disassociate it. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and delete the stack. There we go. We go over to fleets. We have to wait for that to finish stopping. So what I didn't show you was how would you take your own application and allow you to stream it. That is much more involved. I don't know if the exam would actually want you to know that in detail, but all I can say is it's a lot of work, and it is possible, but I would just say that it's out of scope. But anyway, we'll let this stop, and then we'll delete it to make sure we're all cleaned up here, and we'll call this done, okay? All right, so that one has been stopped. We'll go ahead and delete. So we'll say delete. And so now everything is cleaned up, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Ciao.